All right, all right. Welcome back to another live stream, and we're actually a little bit looking a little bit different today. Not only do I got the glasses on, but we're also set up a little bit different. Got the microphone in a different place. Got the colors are different. So what happened was my entire computer crashed. So I had to completely reinstall everything and just start over from scratch. So that's what we're doing. So if you can hear me okay, well, I hope you can hear me okay at least. And if not, we'll have to figure something out. Let's see. All right, there we go. Let me pop the chat out here so I can see it right in front of me. Hey, Thomas, how you doing? Hope everything's going well for you. As to everybody else who's watching today, thank you so much for tuning in. Man, it's been a busy few weeks. Had a good time in North Carolina. Then I had to do some final exams for my classes. Had to get registered for my next classes. Then what else did I have to do? What was it? Oh yeah, I had to write a script for a play that our youth group put on. That was a lot of fun. And let's see. Something else. I was finishing a project I'm working on. That's what it is. But does anybody have any Bible questions or anything like that? I know that when we did a stream with Don the other day, there were a lot of questions coming in, and we didn't really have time to get to them all on account of, that wasn't the purpose of the stream. So if you have anything, then please let me know, and we can cover whatever you want to talk about. If I'm able to. I might not know the answer. So if you have anything you want to discuss, just let me know. This is water, by the way. Let's see. There was a question, I think, about the Mark of the Beast, or 666, I think. But I pretty much covered that in an article that I wrote. You just go to my website and look up 666, and it comes right up. DanielR.net is the name of the website now. It used to be labornotinvain.com, but labor not in vain was very King James. And so I wanted to make it a little bit more personal, I guess, and make it, I guess, more than just a blog, a place where people can see what my speaking schedule is for church. We have like a rotation that we do, different things like that. Just for kicks, if he shows up, he usually has a few Bible questions for us. Let's see. I got my notebook here. This is my handy dandy notebook. It's when I have a notebook going, there's some good stuff going on. It usually means I got a lot of ideas I need to get down, and a lot of potential projects to work on and stuff like that. So, like for example, I just did this whole thing on the quote by this guy called Pat Martino. Pat Martino is a jazz musician. He passed away. The incredible thing about him is he learned jazz guitar, was one of the top jazz musicians, and then he completely lost his memory, and he had to relearn everything from the ground up. So it's kind of crazy, right? Here's what he says. He says in the case, he was asked about composition. How does he compose music? He says, in the case of solo guitar, the stimulation doesn't always come from a need on my behalf to compose a new piece. And then he goes on to says that they come from interaction with others, practice sessions, a lesson, or even chords resolving into like a lick or a line, right? And I thought that was really cool and had a lot to do with ministry and preaching and doing a podcast or writing a book or writing an article or whatever. Because it's not like you have to do it, like there's a task, like a deadline, although deadlines are involved, but it's more about it just sort of flows out of whatever you're working on at the time. So it's a really inspiring quote. Anyways, I put all kinds of stuff like that in this little notebook, and I got this whole thing on, it's called I Hate Pews, and I'll do something on that eventually, but I don't know what it is yet. It might be an audio, might be an article, might be a podcast, might be a sermon. Who knows? It hasn't, the notebook hasn't revealed it to me. Okay, ever looked into phylacteries and the mark, strapping the law to their heads and hands? Christ even calls them out by name. No, I've never looked into that before. Do you have a like an article or a video or something that I can kind of look at and dig into that a little bit more? I haven't considered that. Always, for the past few years, I've always, you know how in Galatians 4, Paul says, and Abraham had 2 sons, right? So I read an article called David Had 2 Sons, and it talked about the relationship between Solomon and Jesus. Solomon as the importer-exporter of chariots, marrying the daughter of Pharaoh, using slaves to construct the temple of the God who frees slaves, versus Jesus, who just turns all those things over on their head. Instead of a kingdom of violence, it's a kingdom of nonviolence. Instead of a kingdom of weapons, it's a kingdom of a time when they would turn the swords and the plowshares and the spears and the pruning hooks. So that's kind of where I go. And then I look at in Revelation how Revelation is less about Rome versus Jerusalem, in my opinion. And it's more about 2 concepts of the kingdom warring against each other. The violent nature of the kingdom versus the heavenly nonviolent nature of the kingdom. In Revelation 13, for instance, which talks about these 2 beasts, the thing that differentiates between the saints and the followers of the beast was whether or not they picked up the sword. You look at, let's just go ahead and do it, shall we? Take a look at Revelation chapter 13. He says, if anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he goes. If anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints. So that's what differentiates between the followers of the beast versus the followers of Christ. It's more about the war between 2 different ideas, 2 different concepts of what the kingdom of heaven is, than it is Rome versus Jerusalem, or China versus North Korea, whatever, Let's see. Does the book of Lamentations parallel Matthew 24? It's a good question. And that brings up an interesting thing about the language that Jesus used. So if you notice the connections between Lamentations and Matthew 24, then yeah, there's a lot there. But Lamentations, of course, is dealing with the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC, written from the perspective of Jeremiah. And so the language will be similar between the 2 books because it's dealing with similar themes, similar ideas, the same location, the same structure, right? The same ideas behind what would happen when that structure falls, right? So you look at, you will find a lot of similar language there, and you'll even find some prophecy in Lamentations, looking forward to the time of the restoration of Israel. And so yeah, I would say that Lamentations and Matthew 24 do have a lot in common, and reading through and comprehending some of the things in Lamentations would perhaps give you a better understanding of Matthew 24. Let's see. If you do an image search, they're black boxes. Let's see. Place scrolls with the law inside. They have 3 Hebrew letters on them. Matthew 23, they do all their deeds to be noticed by people. They broaden their phylacteries and lengthen the tassels of their garments. I gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. All right, what else? Anybody else have any Bible questions or anything like that? By the way, I've been posting podcasts. If you have like iTunes or the podcast app on Apple, or you have Spotify, or you have Podbean, those are the 3 main ones. They also auto-export to YouTube, but that's what one of the things that this notebook does is it's got a bunch of podcast ideas and things like that in it. And so I have a few podcasts actually outlined, and I'll go through some of those in the next few weeks. But they typically post on Tuesday, but there's not a set day for them to post. I've just been kind of posting them on Tuesday. So, but if you want to follow that, it's called Daniology, which is just like whatever I think of. So Daniology. It's whatever's on my brain, the study of whatever's on my brain. Let's see. let's see. We've been doing this Revelation thing, this nature of the kingdom of heaven thing. I suppose we could, yeah, put the new website in the chat. Let me see. I can do you one better. All right, this is what it looks like. It's called DanielR.net, right? Whoops, sorry about that. DanielR.net. I don't know if you can see that. I will type it in the chat too. There you go. Oops. Sorry about that. Now all the links from all the website, all the blogs from Labor Not in Vain are on here. In fact, when you go and you click on resources, it's still going to take you to all these downloadables. Most of these are free, by the way. I mean, yeah, like this one's paid, but that's because it's paperback and it's through Amazon. This one's paid. That's because it's through Don. Everything else, though, is free. And you can actually get the Thessalonians commentary for free through a PDF or through eSword file. And then I got some stuff on Romans 8, the coming of the kingdom in the New Testament, a thing on Revelation that I wrote in 2017 that's probably not all that great, but still there. A little deal on how to study the Bible, and then this book on the Restoration Movement that I thought people might dig. Well, it's not a book. It's a paper, but it's pretty good, I thought. All right, let's see. Yeah, but this is the new site. I also just posted this parables. Let's see. Here it is. I did a class on the parables, and it's pretty, like elementary stuff, but those are all the handouts I gave. I didn't give handouts every week. Sometimes, like, we did a thing for Ukraine at one point, and we had some other stuff going on, so I didn't post one every single week. And also, not everything required a handout. So I don't know. There's some handouts for you. Also got the thing on Galatians, all the handouts for it. You'll actually probably really enjoy this. Not that you wouldn't enjoy the parable thing. There's some good information in there, but this is a full set of handouts on the book of Galatians, all the way through to the very end, if it'll load. All right. And then we have under resources is also a link to my podcast, a link to Two Guys in the Bible stuff, and yeah, should be good. So there's the links where you can follow it on whatever. Oh, this thing on Philippians 2 in the garden, that was a lot of fun. If you want to check that out, that was fun. Okay, let's see. We have a question. I'm reading Contours of Pauline Theology on your recommendation. Can you talk a little bit about your takeaways? Yeah. Let's see. 3 takeaways. Okay, first off, his thing on the binding of Isaac, it's really, really good. That was a lot of fun. I just really appreciated tracing the firstborn back from Jesus to Passover to Isaac. That was enlightening. When he talks about the Messianic temple in Ezekiel and how it combines Passover and Day of Atonement, I thought that was a really cool takeaway. He also talks about how to get the most out of the use of the Greek in the New Testament. And what he said was, take the Greek word and then go to the Septuagint and then find the corresponding Greek word there, or rather the Greek word there, and then find the corresponding Hebrew word that's below the Greek word, the translation, right? So when you do that, you're able to really unlock a lot of cool information on how Paul may have understood some of the Greek words that he employed, not by using a Greek lexicon, but by using more of a Hebrew lexicon and sort of determining the original meaning of that word in Hebrew. So that was a really cool takeaway. And that just led to all kinds of cool insights and study tools when looking at Scripture. So now, for example, I have this Septuagint copy here, the Lexham English Septuagint. And so, like, for example, you go to, let's just look at Genesis 1. In the beginning is arche, right? So, like, what you might do is you would then go to the, you would then go to the Hebrew. And then instead of looking at a lexicon to see like what arche means, which you could easily, you could go to the Hebrew and you could go, okay, what's the word here in Hebrew, right? And then that gives you more insights into like how that word was used, how Paul might have understood that word if he were to use it in Genesis. So just stuff like that, right? Or to use it in his writings, right? So just little stuff like that. Like for example, the Spirit is a big one. Ruach, because you trace it through the Old Testament, and it's not just in Genesis 1, the Spirit hovered over the face of the deep. Then you see that it was the Ruach, the wind, that went into Adam. It was the Ruach that pulled the waters back from the flood, that divided the Red Sea. So anytime you see that strong wind come, it's really a neat insight. And then you take that to the New Testament, and you just start to see all sorts of things with Jesus' baptism, with this conversation with Nicodemus, and then you start talking about the water and how that's connected. So yeah, that whole thing about the how the Greek words were used in the New Testament, then in the Septuagint, and then finding the corresponding Hebrew word. That was really fun. Let's see what else. He also talked about in Contours of Pauline Theology. I feel like there was something else. Oh, yeah. The big takeaway was, and the whole book is really, that the New Testament works were written to communities of people, not to just individuals. So whenever you read the word you, or even the verbs, they're oftentimes in the second person plural, which suggests that you should read it from the perspective of a community as if you were hearing the scripture read aloud. So like, for example, Paul says in Romans 10:17, so then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So hearing by the word of God, not reading, right? Faith comes by reading. No, because they originally heard the scriptures. Even the Old Testament scriptures were read in the synagogue and passed down and memorized and passed from person to person. So that's just a few of the things that I took away. There was a lot of cool information in there about baptism in Romans 6, about 1 Corinthians 6, and the harlot there with the body and all that stuff. My brain, I can't remember much else, but hopefully that was enough to go off of there. So yeah, I thought it was a good book. If you want to read that book, by the way, you can order it offline, but you can also find it for free on Tom Holland's website. Just search Contours of Pauline Theology PDF or something like that, and it usually pops up for his website. If you try to do that, Tom Holland, Contours of Pauline Theology PDF, and you still can't find it, then message me and I can try to locate it for you. Right. All right. What else? What else you got? Let's see. Let me think. I guess I could try to find it for you real quick. For those who want it. Let me find it off camera. Then I'll pull it up. Okay, there we go. All right, here you go. tomholland.org.uk, and then when you click on that, you'll see Contours of Pauline Theology, and then you have section 1, section 2, section 3. But there's a zip file you can download with all the PDF files. So that's probably the easiest way to do it there. Where do I fall on the creation story? Literal or allegory? I fall in the category of I have a problem with the word literal, because sometimes we use the word literal to mean like as it's stated, right? But literal is just, means that it actually happened, like that it was true, right? So like if I talk about God, does God literally exist? Well, yeah, but can you like touch God? Well, no, I can't touch God. So, you know, the word literal throws me off a little bit. That being said, I would probably fall into the category of reading the Genesis story, the creation story, as more of a poem, talking about actual creation. Um, so, like, I don't really buy into covenant creation. Um, I just don't. I can't. I've read the books. I've listened to the arguments. I just don't buy into it. Um, I think it is talking about real creation. Now I think there's covenant involved, and the I think that Israel would have used that covenantal language to talk about the creation and to understand their own exile in Babylon through the creation story, especially Genesis chapters 2 and 3. That version of the creation story, and I would even say that the creation story most likely was written to combat some of the more violent creation myths that were out there in the ancient Near East. But I think it's talking about the physical creation. I just don't read it in a strictly sort of, you know, like the way I used to, demanding 6,000-year-old Earth and things like that. Now, do I know how the Earth was created? Nope, I don't. Do I know what methods God used? Nope, I don't. Do I know, like, did God create a mature Earth 6,000 years ago, and Adam had the appearance of a 30-year-old? So, of course, when we do tests, we would see that the Earth was however many millions and millions of years old, and the universe was billions of years old. Yeah, okay, whatever. But do I know? No. And do I care enough to fight about it and disagree with somebody about it? Nope. And if someone wants to believe covenant creation, yep, sure, that's cool. But I wasn't there, and I kind of feel like I got more important things to do. It used to really bother me, like when I was going through college classes, a lot of science classes, it really bothered me, man. I read all these apologetics books, and I'm just like, well, I wasn't there, man. Why am I gonna get all worried about something that was written, 3,500 years ago, where the stories began to be passed down even before then? Like, am I really gonna write off half the Christian community, whichever half I fall on, based on if I'm an old Earth creationist or a young Earth creationist? Nah, that's kind of boring. Which I know it's really important for some people, and if it is, hey, more power to you. But I'm not, whatever. I don't think the Bible. There we go. I don't think the Bible was designed to give us that information. Like, I don't think that Moses talking to Israel was like, okay, it's really important that you understand that the earth is billions of years old. Or, hey, guys, it's really important that you understand that the earth was a few thousand years old, right? Or like, when I first started studying this stuff again, back in probably 2016, 2017, 2018, I don't know, I ran across this guy who tried to show that each age, each section of Genesis had to do with like the Big Bang and levels of oxygen in the atmosphere. Dude, I don't think they had any idea about that kind of stuff. Hold up a second. Sorry, I got a pregnant mama, so I need to answer the phone when it calls. Yeah, I appreciate you, man, too. That's appreciate that. I mean, that might not be what you're looking for. Like, that was pretty much the most non-answer I could give, but that's how I feel. I don't think that there's some complicated formula to figure out Genesis 1. I just think it's about, hey, God created the world. Here it is. Let me show it. Okay, hang on. Like, you just make me do this. Here's what Genesis 1's about. All right. Let me pull up Paint. You know things are getting serious when we pull up Paint, right? Uh-oh, did I mess it up? I don't think so. Okay. Day 1. And all my fonts and stuff are messed up. That's fine. Okay, day 1. What happened? Day 1, God made light when there was none. All right, day 2. What happened? Day 2, God made the sea and the sky so blue. Okay, so you have the sea and sky. All right, what about day 3? Day 3, God made the flowers, grass, and trees, right? And then, now, okay, so that's the first 3 days. Now we have the next few days. All right, so we have day 4. Day 4, God made the sun, moon, and stars galore. All right, day 5. What happened on day 5? God made the birds and the fish that fly. All right. It always made me upset that day 6 doesn't have a good rhyme. Day 6. Wait, what do they say? I think they say 6th day. God made animals and man that day. But like that's not. You can't rhyme day with day. Anyways, animals and man. All right. Check this out. Here's this is what Genesis is about. So they're coming out of Egypt, right? They're coming out of Egypt. They've just been in slavery for 400 years, not literally 400 years, but they've been in slavery for a long time. And they've been basically taught that chaos reigns, right? They don't have any order. They're slaves. They're less than human, right? They're just going to do Pharaoh's bidding, right? So here's what's going on with Genesis 1. This is about giving them order. This is showing that there is order to the universe and that it's not chaotic, and they have a place and they're children of God. Okay, day 1, light, corresponds to day 4. God creates light, and then he creates something for that light. Then he creates something to inhabit that light: sun, moon, and stars. Right? So you have the realm here, and then the thing that inhabits it here. So you have light, and then you have sun, moon, and stars that produce that light. Then we have the sea and the sky. Let's do blue for the sea and the sky. The sea and the sky. The 5th day, the birds and the fish that fly, right? Day 2, day 5 correspond to one another. Then what do we have? We have day 6. Is this brown? I can't tell. I'm colorblind. I think it's brown. It's kind of close to the gray. Flowers, grass, and trees, animals, and man. You see? That's what Genesis 1 is about. There's order. Light, sun, moon, stars. Sea and sky, birds and fish. Flowers, grass, and trees, animals, and man. See how simple that is? That's what it's about. It's about there's order in the universe. And then what happens on the 7th day? God rests. God rests. There's order, there's rest. Completely overturning what you have in Egypt. Giving Israel a starting place from which they could launch into this covenant with God. Yep, I think that's what Genesis 1's about. I don't think it's all that complicated. I don't think it's meant to communicate the secrets of the universe to us. I think it's just to tell us that there's order, there's rest. Rest is baked into the rhythms of creation, and we should take great comfort in that, and it's all good. Okay, how about the being of Satan, a literal evil angel with power over us, or more the adversaries of Christ? A literal evil angel with power over us, or more the adversaries of Christ? Okay, there's things in the Bible that you just simply can't explain. Like, for example, who was it? Was it Elisha or was it Elijah? I always forget. Those two guys, they shouldn't have been named so similarly. We'll have to have a talk about that when we get to heaven. You guys made it too complicated on us. All right, but anyways, one of them, I can't remember which one it was. You know what? I'm just look it up. Hang on a second. Okay, it's 2 Kings 6. So it's going to be Elisha. 2 Kings 6. Helps if you spell correctly. 2 Kings 6. All right. So we have Elisha. All right. We have the king of Aram here. He's going to. I just hung out with some guy named Aram. A really cool man. I mean, just really cool person. Okay. Anyways, so what happens here? Elisha is going to be with his servant, and they're basically going to be like, all right, what's happening here? You know, are we going to be able to survive? And what do? They look around, and they see that there is a... Okay, here it is. Do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them, right? They send, so there's a bunch of chariots around Elisha and his servant, and then he says, don't fear, look around, open my servant's eyes, and then what does he see? He says, behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. So you ask about Satan. You ask about another being that's out there, evil being. Okay, we have good beings, apparently. Horses and chariots and all kinds of stuff, right? Horses and chariots of fire, okay? You have the death angel. You have the angels warring against each other in Daniel. Remember that? That was kind of weird, wasn't it? Like you go to Daniel, what was it? Chapter 9, chapter 10? Or was it chapter 9 or was it chapter 10? I'm pretty sure it was chapter 9. Okay, anyways, here's Gabriel. He comes into his presence, okay? And let's see. I bet it was chapter 10. You throwing me off with these questions. Oh, yeah. So the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days. Behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I'd been left there with the king of Persia. What's going on there? All these beings and stuff? Man, I don't have any idea. Whoever Satan is, I believe that Jesus dealt with him. He talks about the ruler of this world, the prince of the power of the air. Romans 16:20, the God of heaven will crush Satan under your feet shortly. So I'm not all that worried about him. I just believe that Jesus dealt with him. Do you agree that after 780, Satan no longer existed? See, that's the question, isn't it? Right? See, if we're talking about a being, like an individual being, then you have some pretty compelling arguments, right? I will crush his head. You'll crush Satan under his feet shortly. Okay, the whole thing about being thrown into the pit, thrown into the lake of fire, all that kind of stuff. However, if you view Satan as simply anyone that's an adversary of God, I think Tokyo said, synagogue of adversaries, the Sanhedrin, whatever, then you have a pretty interesting question. I mean, are there people who are our adversaries? Are there people who are our slanderers? We have the victory over them, sure, but do they exist, right? So I think it depends on how you define Satan, Thomas. And I don't think that's an easy answer. And I don't think, could it be both? Yeah, why not? Why couldn't it be both? Why did Ananias and Sapphira die? I don't know. Why couldn't it be? Yep. I just think that a lot of these questions that people have so figured out, I just don't know if they just have that many easy answers. And I don't believe in the pitchfork and the what does he say from Oh Brother Where Art Thou? Anyways, I don't believe in that, Satan. I wonder who tempted Jesus. Stuff like that. Like, who was with Jesus in the wilderness? But whoever that was, I think Jesus dealt with him, so I'm not too worried about him. What I'm worried about, though, is found in James chapter 1, which says this. He says, let no man say when he's tempted, I'm tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil. He himself does not tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he's carried away and enticed by his own lust. Then when lust is conceived, it gives birth to sin. When sin it is accomplished, brings forth death. So each man is tempted when he's drawn away by his own lust and enticed. That's more what I'm worried about. Jesus can handle otherworldly beings if they exist. But as for me, yeah, sometimes I'll lose my way. Yep. And I don't blame anybody for that but myself. So I don't know if that helps or not. I'd probably, if you put a gun to my head and just asked me what I believe, I'd probably say no. I believe that the idea of Satan is important, but I don't believe. I believe that we give Satan almost like deity-like qualities that make his existence highly skeptical, or at least not as important as we give him credit for, you know? Because otherwise you almost have like another God who's tempting people on the other side of the world simultaneously, so he's omnipresent. He's able to manipulate the power, so he's near omnipotent. And plus he knows your heart, knows what you're tempted by, so he's like omniscient. So it's almost like we create another God. I don't like that. I've thought about that before, Bo. Could Satan be our humanness, our desire to go our own way? I've thought about that before. I mean, Jesus identifies Peter as Satan, and those were temptations that he had, right? Let this cup pass from me. How would he do that? Well, he says how. He could call 10,000 angels. So he contemplated that. But I don't know. Whew. All right. What else you got? Anything at all? What time is it? 9:40? I mean, y'all asking the good questions tonight. Creation, Satan, 666, the heavy hitters. Alrighty. It is 9:40, so I'm probably going to go to bed. Actually, what I usually do is I put on a movie and I fall asleep. Oh, wait. Some of my aunts have their ghost and possession stories that have me raise my eyebrows as proof that Satan still exists. Yeah. I don't know about that. Whatever. I've just never experienced anything like that or know anybody who's experienced something like it, whose story was credible enough for me to believe. Look, here's the thing. All right, I do magic tricks, right? I got like decks of cards all over the house. And I would never tell anybody how a magic trick went, because my explanation of it is going to be exactly what happened, right? They picked a card, I found their card. Okay. But when the people who I do the magic trick for, when they start to tell what happened, that's so much fun, because all of a sudden cards are like disappearing and appearing and stuff is like levitating and things happen that I never even did, you know? But that was the impression that they got. And so I'd rather them tell the story than me tell the story, because it sounds way cooler, you know, because I know what's going on behind the curtains. I'm in on the joke, right? So when people begin to tell me stories about like ghosts and things like that, that's typically the impression I get. But look, there's people that I trust that promise that they've seen ghosts. So who am I to call them a liar? Just because I wasn't there. So I'm open to the idea, but I've just never had that experience myself. So I don't think it's craving attention. I think people legitimately believe that they see things, and that's fine. I don't know. I've just never had that happen to me personally. So, you know, I saw this one thing that like if you have like carbon monoxide poisoning, that a lot of old houses and things like that give off the impression that are being ghosts because of the carbon monoxide poisoning. So that's kind of cool. Well, it's not cool, but you know, that's one interesting thing that people's figured out. But all right, enough about ghosts and all that kind of stuff. I'll hop off here now. Y'all have a great night, and God bless.